Good day to everyone. My name is Christian Ray LAPINIG and I'm going to be the first reporter of Group 4. Yes, and we are given the topic cultural globalization and we chose food. Yes, so cultural globalization served in a platter. Okay, so today we will be talking about cultural globalization viewed from the perspective of food. Yes, okay, so what is cultural globalization? So, cultural globalization, according to Britannica.com, is a phenomenon by which the experience of everyday life, as influenced by the diffusion of commodities and ideas, reflects a standardization of cultural expressions around the world. Propelled by the efficiency or appeal of wireless communications, electronic commerce, popular culture, and international travel, globalization has been seen as a trend towards homogeneity that will eventually make human experience everywhere essentially the same. Okay, so I'm very sorry for the barking of the dog because there is somewhat a dog here in our place. Yes, I'm very sorry for that. So, this means that the world is open to us to delve or to dig into. That includes the world's vast different flavors and cuisines. Yes. Okay, so but what is food culture? Okay, so food culture by definition refers to the practices, attitudes, and beliefs, as well as the networks and institutions surrounding the production, distribution, and consumption of food, as stated by the Well Essentials. Okay, so that's the meaning of food culture. So the world's vast diversity of flavors and cuisines is open to just anyone with access to technology. Yes. Okay, so if you have an internet and you have a gadget, so you can easily browse international cuisines within your hand. Yes, in an increasingly globalized world, food culture has been dynamically changing, adapting, and influencing the community. An exchange of food culture and knowledge when two different cultures meet is evident in our society. The Philippines, being a melting pot of different cultures, its traditional food culture is often difficult to distinguish and draw a line of what is truly traditional. Yes, okay, so we are colonized by different countries way back in our history or way ancient times. We were colonized by the Spaniards, we were colonized by the Americans, Japanese, yes, and we have their culture also. And it's very difficult for us Filipinos to distinguish what is really Filipino and what is coming from the other countries that has colonized us way back in our ancient times. Okay, so that being said, there's always been an exchange of food culture and knowledge when two different cultures would meet, as what I have said earlier. Tracing back to the barter system, yes, barter system of the ancient Chinese, which led to the introduction of noodles from the Chinese to Filipino cuisines, to the new flavors. Yes, and cooking techniques that were incorporated into cuisines as a way to add a bit of interest. Yes, okay. So, as has been said, so it can often be hard to draw the line between what is truly traditional and what parts of food culture has been influenced by outside forces. Okay? So today, though in our incredibly globalized world, it's just not a piece of cuisine that travel in the form of ingredients or single recipes, but the entire cuisine as a whole. Yes, so it is not just about the flavors or what other countries introduce to us, but yes, the the cuisine as a whole. So immigrants bring their traditional food cultures with them with flavors and different cooking techniques. Yes. Okay. Travelers seek out the flavors. Yes, they encountered halfway around the globe, and when they return back home, they will introduce these flavors they met. halfway around the world and incorporate it with their culture or food culture also, and make new dishes or innovative dishes that is a combination of two cultures. Yes, okay. So, okay. Mhm. And even those people who might never leave the borders of their own country seek out a bit of adventure while browsing the international cuisines, like Filipino cuisines, Italian cuisines, American cuisines section of their local restaurant guide. Okay, so food culture have spread to the point, yes, spread to the point where we can now find Italian restaurants here in the Philippines. Yes, it is located in Metro Manila. Yes, okay. Japanese sushi in America and some American cheeseburgers served up in some provinces of the Philippines. Yes, so we are overwhelmed by these flavors and that other countries introduce to us and vice versa. But it is not just about different flavors and cuisines. Okay, so it's just not about what we have tasted or what we have in our mind, the flavors and different cuisines of the world, like spicy, sour, sweet, okay, bitter, but the way we eat, yes, we were very influenced by these, by the Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans choose using chopsticks. Yes, even though some Filipinos don't know how to use chopsticks, but the fact that they were influenced by Japanese, Koreans, and Chinese, so they still use chopsticks even though they really don't know how to use it. Yes. Okay. Next is the methods we do in cooking. Yes. Traditionally, we don't have the method of baking. We don't know how to roast. We don't know how to fry. Yes. But through time and time, the introduction of different cuisines to Philippines, we are able to learn different way of cooking also, like baking, deep frying, sauteing, yes, frying. Yes. And of course, presenting our foods. Yes. Actually, Filipinos, local Filipinos living in the provinces really don't present their food just like other restaurants or expensive restaurants around the world. Yes, but it is really important to present our food nicely to be able to be appetizing in the eyes of our clients, customers, and our visitors. Yes. Okay. Okay. So, are you familiar with adobo? Yes, adobo is considered as to be the national dish of the Philippines. Yes. So it is chicken, pork, or beef that has a soy sauce and vinegar. Yes, and it's very popular around the world. You can even hear it by the celebrities from America. They know adobo is really, really good. Yes, okay. So, as our world becomes more and more connected, food culture is no longer tied to where it originated and can spread far and wide. Yes, so we are very connected now. Like Philippines to America, America to France, France to Philippines. We are very, very connected nowadays. So it is important that we don't forget that the international foods we eat, no matter how far they have traveled or how much they have become a norm in our communities, have their own cultural DNA. Yes, so let us not just forget that even though Philippines was influenced by other countries, we still have our own cultural DNA within it when it comes to food. Yes, so it is far too easy for us to forget this point and to strip the cuisines of their true history. We must remember where our food has come from, not just physically by tracing back to the farms where the products was grown, but culturally by acknowledging the generations of people who developed and perfected the cuisines or different cuisines. Yeah, so it is kind of mistake for us because sometimes we tend to forget the history of what we have now. My advice is we should appreciate the history of our food whether it came from different countries. It came from Spain, China, Malaysia, USA, and Japan. So we must include it in our appreciation that what we have now is a reflection of what we have way back. Yeah, so let us just not forget the history of our food here in the Philippines and even other countries in the world. So, thank you very much for listening to my report, and I hope that you will have learned something about the introduction of what our report is: cultural globalization of food. Okay, so have a good day. God bless everyone.
Have you ever wondered how big fast food chains like McDonald's influence its conquest domain in various ways? In this section, we will be talking about the influences of fast food chains across regions, specifically on traditional lifestyle and eating practices of people, as well as on the regional cuisines that take pride in their respective localities. But before we proceed to the main context, however, I would like to give a quick overview of how society perceives and defines fast food chains to be. Fast food chains are best referred for its organized table and quick services, quality production, and portion maintenance. Accompanying this era's modernity is the people's way of living that gets busier by the day. Fast food's quick services, with the assurance that quality is taken into account, stepped in as a solution to the need of a lesser time to eat. The increase in fast food consumption, therefore, is linked to lifestyles that value fast foods because of their efficiency. But how do fast food chains influence the society in terms of lifestyle and traditional eating practices, as well as regional cuisines? Fast food chains influence the local diet. Traditional diet patterns of eating are inspired by the rich culinary histories of cuisines around the globe. They are specifically characterized by the consumption of industrially unprocessed and fresh foods in contrast to the modern diet. In a study by Zhao, Modon, Kim, Hurwitz, and Runowski in 2015, frequent eating at a fast food or quick service restaurant was associated with perceived poor health status and higher body mass index. Instead of eating at home, trends of eating out are now rampant. Poor diets and health may be due to increases in the number of fast food and other pay before you eat establishments. This implies that people's traditional diet has been changing, adapting to the newly introduced means of modernity. Similarly, fast food chains affect eating traditions as well. As an example, social gatherings or events are possible in fast food chains. The traditional way of eating at home, preparing everything from scratch, is now less apparent. Holding an event at fast food chains is seen to be way more economical in terms of resources, time, and effort. Compromising tradition for convenience is what it is. These small changes are the manifestation that there is indeed a correlation between how the fast food culture has affected our lifestyles and eating culture to change, be it at the plus or downside. The domination of globally recognized fast food chains across regions doesn't necessarily have a direct influence on food culture, how traditional cuisines were processed, and in the ingredients used. However, because their existence has brought about a radical change in the lifestyle and diet of people, it has shadowed over the idea of regional cuisines. They have pushed regional cuisines to cope up with the trend and to step up its game in order to survive in the modernity. Evolution changes authenticity. It is a strategy in order to promote regional cuisines in a world where everyone is all about quick service and convenience. Filipino chains such as Jollibee and its Pancit Palabok and Chowking's wide array of Chinese cuisine are two examples. Fast food is part of the problem of the disappearance of regional cuisines, but inauthentic restaurant food is also partially responsible. Ultimately, regardless of the reason, A regional cuisine cannot survive unless the characteristic dishes are passed on from the older generation to a younger one who can appreciate their merits.
Hello guys! Today, I will be going to discuss to you about the influence of globalization towards our Filipino food culture. The phenomenon of globalization is having a major impact on food cultures around the world. Food systems are changing, resulting in greater availability and diversity of food. Food is often used as a means of retaining our cultural identity. In the Philippines, for example, we have rich varieties of traditional foods and different ways to prepare them. Filipino foods are composed of the cuisines of more than 100 ethno-linguistic groups found throughout the Philippine archipelago. Through colonization and immigration, the Philippines became a bridge to cultural cuisine. Because of this, our cuisine has also been influenced by centuries of trade with Spain, China, France, Southeast Asia, and the United States. Food historians also claim that 80% of Filipino dishes are of Spanish origin. Nevertheless, most Spanish recipes were modified by our indigenous Filipinos to accommodate for the ingredients that was readily available to them and to adapt to their tastes. Thus, the birth of our so-called Filipino cuisine. However, it isn't just Spanish that brought influence to Filipino cuisine. Chinese influence is evident in noodle dishes like bihon, miki, sotanghon, mami, lumi, miswa, which go by the general name of pancit. This type of dish has been so popular in the Philippines that the popularity of the instant pancit noodles has been a favored grocery item for many families and college students. Popular dishes like lechon, adobo, afritada, caldereta, kare-kare, pinakbet, and hamonado represents the culinary world for food where East meets West. Undoubtedly, food is a very effective example that represents our culture being influenced by globalization. What are the effects of modernity to our food culture? In all over the world, the food industry has become one of the top sectors for mankind development. Nowadays, modern technology utilization on food is widely practiced, di ba? Media plays an important role supporting and retaining culture and food identity. The myriad of published cookbooks and food magazines, culinary festivals, TV shows, celebrity chefs, blogs has completely changed the meaning of food. The pace and depth of change in food systems are occurring at different rates across regions and countries, although all countries appear to be moving in the same direction. Modern food technology would certainly give an impact to the traditional food and to people. Many of these changes are closely associated with urbanization, increasing incomes, market liberalization, and foreign direct investment. Competition for a market share of food purchases tends to intensify with entry into the system of powerful new players, such as large multinational fast food and supermarket chains. The losers tend to be the small local agents and traditional food markets, and to some extent, merchants selling street foods as well as other food items. The restaurants give them the opportunity to experience modernity through their dining experience. In turn, this is bringing about a gradual shift in food culture towards a more universal one. With all these cultures continuously adding influence to Filipino dining and cuisine, it becomes more difficult to answer the question, what is Filipino cooking? The Philippines have become such an international community for food that an answer to that question could be a little broad. Though it is truly difficult to answer the question, there is one thing that rings true about Filipino food, that the food, traditional or modern, comes from a multicultural influence. In the present day, when one visits almost any developed and developing country, The first food establishments that may catch the eye are fast food restaurants with their growing global presence. We can't deny that in the Philippines, the most famous and familiar name, especially to children, is the Jollibee. It is a Filipino multinational chain of fast food restaurants owned by Jollibee Foods Corporation. As of April 2018, Jollibee Food Corporation had a total of about 1,200 Jollibee outlets worldwide, with a presence in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, East Asia, North America, and Europe. This growing chain signifies the scope of today's food globalization and its integration into local markets and societies around the world. When we dive into the different foods served by this restaurant, we can clearly see the influences of different cuisines varying from Western to Eastern cultures. In fact, many other big fast food restaurants such as KFC and McDonald's are very known to us and has gradually become part of our modern lifestyle. Tim Matkowski, a professor who is specialized in cultural anthropology, considers the many ways the fast food industry is imagined by industry players and everyday Filipinos to create something that is both intimately familiar and entirely new. However, continuous interaction between global food companies and local consumers on different levels often results in changes within the local culture, social values, and dietary habits, as new customs promoted by the brands replace the old ones. Nevertheless, it is a way for our Filipino food culture to step in a new level. Thank you.
Food culture in a certain country serves as one of its identities. With the presence of globalization, the food culture, for example, in the Philippines, has been affected by this phenomenon. Colonization and migration has contributed to some of the Filipino cuisines, especially the trading activities with China, United States, France, and the Southeast Asian nations. As what food historians claimed, the majority of the Filipino cuisines were heavily influenced by the Spaniards or of Spanish origin. The Chinese influence on Filipino foods is also evident, especially on noodle dishes. Part of globalization on food culture is the existence of modern food technology. It affects the food system and food habits of a certain place. The practice of modern technology utilization may have good and bad impacts. Fast food culture in the Philippines is everywhere, in every corner. Jollibee, KFC, and McDonald's have been part of our lifestyle. As nations being interconnected with each other, food culture has been influencing each other. These influences on our food system are evident in our society and are already part of our lifestyle. The popularity of fast food establishments in a country is one evidence that we really did acquire other food cultures. With other cultures continuously influencing our food culture, it can be concluded that Filipino foods are influenced by multiple cultures. Influencing may be in a way of colonization, migration, or even through technology or media. At the end of the day, we still have what we can call as our own traditional food.